Benjamin Franklin was one of the greatest Americans to have ever lived. His impact on the country is infinite, and not many can say they have accomplished as much as he has for the country. He was an inventor, a role model, a founding father, and he deserves to be on the AP U.S. History Wall of Fame. January 17, 1706, Benjamin Franklin was born in Boston, Massachusetts. He is the youngest son of Josiah Franklin and Abby Folger Franklin. He attended grammar school from age 8 to 10 and had some private writing and arithmetic lessons. Benjamin's parents wanted him to attend school, however, they only had enough money to send him to school for 2 years. Benjamin continued his education on his own through voracious reading. When he turned 13, he was an apprentice to his older brother James. Benjamin learned the printing trade and developed his free time to advancing his self-education. Franklin worked in several different print shops in London and Philadelphia during his early years. He gained recognition as a great printer, and he soon eventually bought the Pennsylvania Gazette. It soon became the most popular paper in the colonies, and it featured many of Franklin's own work. Poor Richard's Almanac was yearly published by Benjamin Franklin. The publication appeared from 1732 to 1758. The little pamphlets that were published in the American colonies offered a mixture of seasonal weather forecasts, practical household hints, puzzles, and other amusements. Poor Richard's Almanac was also popular for its extensive use of wordplay, and some of the witty phrases coined in the work survived in the contemporary American vernacular. The first firefighting organization, known as the Union Fire Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was organized due to the adamant publishing in the Pennsylvania Gazette by Franklin and others pointing out the need for more effective handling of fires in Philadelphia, and it remained active until approximately 1820. Franklin was made a military commander because of his experience in the Pennsylvania Assembly. Having lived through the clashes between the French and British in the 1740s, he understood the importance of a staunch defense and wrote a bill in 1755 calling for the creation of a militia. The American Philosophical Society was founded in 1743 by Benjamin Franklin and was the first learned society in the United States. The concept of the society was based on the scholarly societies in Europe. By improving methods of agriculture, manufacturing, and transportation, the society hoped to encourage Americans' economic independence.
This statue rests in front of the University of Pennsylvania. It was founded based off of his initiatives and insight regarding philosophy, electricity, and all of science. Using an iron rod, Franklin brought down electricity into his house and studied its effect upon bells. He concluded that clouds were generally negatively electrified. In June of 1752, he performed his famous kite experiment, drawing down electricity from the clouds and charging a Leyden jar from the key at the end of his string. This experiment did a lot for advancing the way American scientists think about electricity. Franklin's goal was to prove that lightning and electricity are the same thing. Both were very interesting to everyone of the time, so he dedicated a lot of his time to writing down his findings so people could learn all about them. Lightning rods are an important invention that came out of this because they could conduct lightning and prevent fires. Franklin got a bill passed in Philadelphia that called for streetlights and for night watchmen. This forever changed not only the United States, but also the whole world. Nights were dangerous before this, and they were made safe to walk at night. This also made it possible for people to go out and work at night, which generally increased efficiency. Benjamin Franklin had long time been a proponent of self-government and independence for the colonies of North America. In 1754, he had penned the Albany Plan for uniting the colonies, but the rest of the people were not ready at the time. This picture was published in the Pennsylvania Gazette to try to unite the colonies. Although he loved the city of Philadelphia, Franklin spent a lot of time in France as the U.S. ambassador there. He negotiated issues and treaties with French diplomats during the times of great stress. Without his knowledge of foreign policy, he may have never been able to compromise with France or England. Ben Franklin mapped out and organized a mail route for the colonies, which was the basis for our routes today. He also charted out the Gulf Stream. We now have a greater knowledge of mapping and geography in general because of his contributions in this field. He was also a main part of the Second Continental Congress, which took up the issue of the state of America. Tensions were boiling over between the colonies and Great Britain, and it was the job of the committee to decide what the colonies should do. Franklin presented the Congress with a plan of confederation on July 21st, 1775, a full year before independence was declared. These became known as the Articles of Confederation, and they were eventually accepted by the committee. This was a very important document as it was the first one to set laws and structure for the colonies as a whole. The rules and provisions of this document were later revised to create the Constitution we still use today.
Back on American soil in 1775, Franklin served as a member of the Second Continental Congress, which appointed him Postmaster General on July 26 of that year. With an annual salary of $1,000 and $340 for the Secretary and Comptroller, Franklin was responsible for all post offices from Massachusetts to Georgia and had authority to hire postmasters as necessary. He was one of the few men at the Constitutional Convention of 1787 to take a public stand against slavery. Having returned to America just 2 years earlier, Franklin presided over the Pennsylvania delegation at the ripe young age of 81. As the convention's oldest delegate, he was also one of the 26 delegates out of 55 who never attended college. A few short months after the Battle of Saratoga, representatives of the United States and France, including Benjamin Franklin, officially declared an alliance by signing the Treaty of Amity and Commerce and the Treaty of Alliance on February 6, 1778. The French aid that these arguments guaranteed was crucial to the eventual American victory over the British in the War for Independence. Bifocals are glasses with an upper and lower half, the upper for distance and the lower for reading. Bifocals are commonly prescribed to people with presbyopia, a condition that Franklin suffered. Franklin wrote in August 1784 to his friend George Whitley that he was, quote, happy in the invention of double spectacles, which serve for distant objects as long as near ones, making my eyes as useful to me as ever they were, unquote. In 1776, Franklin was appointed by the Continental Congress to a committee charged with drafting a formal document to justify the colony's decision of severing political ties with Britain. Although Franklin was 81 years old and in generally poor health, he participated as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, with George Washington presiding. Many of the delegates had widely differing ideas about how the country should be organized and run, including Franklin. For instance, he believed that the executive power was too great to be placed in the hands of one person, and that a committee would be a much better option. Franklin struggled with obesity throughout his middle age and later years, which resulted in multiple health problems, particularly gout, which worsened as he aged. In poor health during the signing of the U.S. Constitution, he was rarely seen in public from then until his death. Benjamin Franklin died from pleuratic attack at his home in Philadelphia on April 17, 1790, at age 84. Approximately 20,000 people attended his funeral. He was interred in Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia. Franklin contributed much to what is deemed most American about the United States. He was tirelessly innovative, brave and capable, diplomatic and wise. All of these values are honored by Americans and honored in the likeness of the unforgettable Franklin on the $100 bill. Benjamin Franklin is one of the most important Americans in U.S. history. He was considered the ideal American and should forever be remembered by being put on the APUSH Wall of Fame. The music you heard was played on the glass harmonica, which was invented by Franklin. We hope you enjoyed it. We also have his favorite treat with us here today.